When I was teaching in the university in Russia, I headed a department of linguistics, and I also headed a department of for teaching teachers how to teach. And I was always very interested in the other people who were in my department and who spoke English. And their English was always a little bit peculiar, mostly because they'd learned English in the fading days of the USSR, and the number of books they were given access to was bizarre, to say the least. They seemed to think John Galsworthy was an author of note, and that Mary Poppins was a book that everybody had read. Frankly, nobody's read Mary Poppins. They just look at the film, which is significantly superior to the P.L. Travers guff. But I happen to quite enjoy the P.L. Travers guff, and I quite enjoy Galsworthy's rubbish, which, you've got to admit, sired the amazing BBC adaptation, The Forsyte Saga, in the late 1960s, that I sort of remember as a boy, which is, frankly, why there was a copy of, why there were copies of the Galsworthy books in my house, because my mother read them having watched the BBC adaptation. It's also, my mother's library is a reason why I ended up reading War and Peace when I was really quite young and trying to wade through the French bits to get to the English translation. And finding it all rather odd. It's very different to Dickens. Tolstoy is interested in people's uniforms and military pedigree rather than in the bizarre nuances of their social interaction. But trolling, that's what we're supposed to be talking about, trolling. So I quite enjoy identifying trolls. Do I want to stop them? Well, yeah, in a funny way I do want to stop them, but in another way I'd much prefer to convert them and make them realise that actually they've got an opportunity to converse, they've got an opportunity to interact with people who perhaps don't share their views, and maybe we can change. We can do some good. And if they're trolling me, then presumably they're not trolling somebody else. So that must do some good as well. But yes, most of the time I identify trolls. I don't always try and stop them. And trolls, of course, fight among themselves. I would discourage the sloganizing. Do I think Twitter has encouraged trolling? Well, yeah, of course it has. And is there a way to stop trolling? I don't think having more people policing a social media platform stops trolling. I think the thing to do with trolling is to convert the trolls rather than censor them. Censorship isn't a positive thing. If you want to do some good, do something positive rather than do something negative. Doing something negative is never going to achieve, in the end, a good result. You're just simply fighting one form of censorship with another. Not my approach.